hello, and welcome to the Katie's Arms. And I'm horrified to see that it's 2 minutes past 8, and we're supposed to start at 8 o'clock. And the reason for that was because I tripped over the light that's here on my way in to sit here to talk to you and collapsed the whole bloody thing. So that's where I was, if you're wondering. Cheers to everybody who's here, anybody that's got your barefoot Merlot on the go. I have to say my glass is not looking the cleanest. It's good to see you all. Thank you for joining me. For those that don't know, to the uninitiated, this is the Katie's Arms, and it is our online pub for people. And the idea is that you can listen along while you're doing something else, doing the washing up, making dinner, making a bed, putting your pajamas on, getting your underwear off, whatever you're doing. I mean, not that you're getting your underwear off to listen to me. I just mean if you were undressing. Everybody loves that feeling, don't they? Getting home, taking off your work stuff, getting off your bra, putting on your pajamas. What's weirdest is that we pretend in real life that we're actually like, we've got our shit together and we're dressed up like this and our boobs look like this and all the rest of it. Whereas in reality, we get home and we go, oh, that's better. Even if you've got really tiny boobs, we do that. We go, oh, even if they're really small. So this pub is supposed to be about laughing along. And a lot of people have said, this is just a silly old cow just droning on at us. And that's also really true. So we acknowledge that every week as well. About the brown hair. I know, I agree with you entirely. Brown hair. I feel like I look a bit like someone, I look a bit like someone called kind of Maureen is my concern with this colour. So there's that. I put on this in an effort to sort of, there's a sense of flamenco about it, or maybe a bullfighter, which I thought helped to counter the fact that this is a bit Maureen. But what happened was that during my massive 4-month tour of America, mostly in sunny places because I'm drawn to sunshine because everybody's better when they look brown, and then I was in Mexico before that and on the road every night and sleeping somewhere different every night. Not just because I'm hugely unfaithful. No, not that at all, actually. Just because I was in a different hotel or different, wherever each night. And so my hair literally was going to fall off and was breaking off. And so I had to go to the hairdresser, and I fully expected to come out of there with 1 inch long, mousy brown hair, which would have been a disaster because that is not how I see myself. How I was born with mousy brown hair is anyone's guess. And how was I born in England, where it's always cold? Anyone's guess. That's why we have this hair going on. So, yes, exactly. Someone just said more like a Karen. God. So I have to endure looking like a Karen for, I don't know how long, until I can just dye it bloody blonde again. That's what's happening. Right. What I wanted to talk about this week on the Katie's Arms was Adele and ONS statistics. These are not necessarily linked subjects. And Austria and Freedom Rally tomorrow in Truro, but also everywhere. So the worldwide Freedom Rally, wherever it's happening, to urge you to see if there's a Freedom Rally near you and maybe you'd like to go along. All of those things. Actually, I'd also, that you could never be a Karen. Thank you, my loves. You're so sweet to me. I would also like to do questions because I keep saying we're going to do questions. So at 20 past, what are we now? 5 past. We're actually going to try and do questions. Someone's saying about LBC. Yes, Majid Nawaz has been booted off of LBC, my old home. And I used to, so after my show, Majid Nawaz started after I started at LBC. And I used to hand over in the studio to Majid Nawaz, who's now been booted off of his own show because of his views on COVID and vaccination. And, he's been really a great ally in terms of speaking truth about what's been going on. And as a result, he's been kicked off of his show. So very sad for Majid. Majid and I got on perfectly well, actually. And when they kicked me off, he was kind enough to send me a message and say, he'd sorry for what they'd done to me. So it's kind of, it's hard to know that the same thing has happened to Majid. And I know how that meeting goes. So how Majid will have been fired, I know exactly what that meeting is like. And you're basically called in. There's the little guy that runs the damn place, or at least pretends to, and then he has a lawyer next to him. The paperwork's already there, and you have to sign it. And essentially it says that, you know, by mutual agreement, you've agreed to piss off. None of which is true, but you have to sign that documentation. And that will have been a horrible shock for Majid. And I absolutely hold other presenters at LBC accountable for lobbying to get rid of him. And once that lobbying starts, it's impossible to stop. So lots of love to Majid Nawaz, wishing him every good thing. And good on him for having the moral courage to keep speaking his truth when he knew it probably will have led to awkward conversations at LBC, and some of the hostility internally there is a lot harder than I never minded any of the hostility on air because that was all part of the conversation. But the hostility I faced inside LBC was horrific. And one of my biggest kind of videos or, you know, bits of LBC, it was the most performing bit of LBC. It was a Brexit kind of rant that I went off on. And one of the producers inside of LBC actually went into the system to delete that from the record so it couldn't continue to accrue views because other presenters at LBC didn't like it that my kind of stuff was so popular. So that's the kind of stuff that will have been going on behind the scenes for Majid Nawaz. As for Adele, I don't know whether you've seen it. So earlier on today, I was just like, Bird, stop with the crying, would you? And Instagram has been in touch. A lot of you are in touch with me to say that you can't tag me, I think. I don't even know what that shit is necessarily. And it doesn't matter because Instagram are essentially wankers most of the time. But they've just got in touch to say you can't monetize or show your Adele video. And they haven't said why, which is basically me saying to Adele, can you quit crying now? I think there's lots of disappointing things about Adele, which is amazing, brilliant, #1 in the whole world. What an amazing thing, right? And, you know, good on her. But I think that the point where you just cry when you need to get out of stuff, that's a bit shit. I've always been a big believer that you hold the line, and if you have to go home and piss yourself, shit yourself and cry later, definitely do that. But in the moment where you're needing to be accountable for stuff, like being fired, you need to get your shit together. You need to be the bigger guy. And ultimately, it's Adele's name over the door in Vegas. So I think saying things like my crew have COVID or my production isn't together or it ain't ready. I'm unsure why we have to go back to really shit grammar at the point we need to be basic Adele that we used to be when we were on the streets of Brixton. I don't know. But anyway, I just think it's a load of old shit, actually. And if you're the #1 performer in the world, then surely you can get your shit together and get your show together. I know what it's like when people make a real effort to come see you. Like when I'm on the road doing a stand-up tour in America, people organise babysitting, they organise dog sitting, they pay to have accommodation, they pay to get flights, and they plan this shit like anybody would do, you guys. Just plan stuff and pay out stuff, and it's the most exciting thing you look forward to. Just for someone to cancel it with 24 hours notice is shit. And I see all these fans oh, don't you worry, babe. It's fine. I'm in Vegas, so I'll have a good time anyway. No, it's shit. Adele's done a shit thing. And no one chooses to go to Vegas to just sit there when they bought tickets to go and see Adele. And so don't blame anybody else or COVID. Stand there and say, I haven't got my shit together. I've screwed up and I'll make it right with you. But don't do it with 24 hours notice. So all of these people are her mental health is more important. Yes, of course it is. But you can still do that within the parameters of sorting your shit out. Also, who the hell are you surrounded by when you are the one left to be the teary blob making apologies on your, whatever it was, Instagram, I don't know what. Who are the people that you're paying to look after you and get the shit to happen? Because they need to bloody go as well. You just need the military in, Adele, babe. If you brought the military in, your show would be fantastic, everything would be organised and things would be done 5 minutes before the 5 minutes before, because that's how the military work. So get rid of the shysters that are around you, stop blubbing on camera and stop blubbing to people and just do the shit that you said you were going to do. You're #1 and that's brilliant, but then just do that shit. Be the best. Be the best thing ever. Be the biggest thing ever. Oh, but just nearly knocked my light flying again. But just do that. Could you not just be like a massive letdown and just blub when things don't go your way? Because it's really girly and boring. So that's my Adele philosophy. I'm all about supporting people when they're feeling like shit, but you don't get away with that when you're the world's number one. Also, there's a lot of crying on the album anyway. I don't think that more tears will... I also kind of feel like if she just sat on a stool in the middle of the stage, and just even if she just held a torch like this, you know, when you do that weird witch thing, and just sang, I actually think the people would love it. Like if you were an Adele fan and you'd paid to go and see her, and she just sat there and spoke to you like normal and chatted to the audience and did a little, just her on a stool dressed in nothing much in particular, a t-shirt, I think people would actually love that more, right? Because then you're getting the real person that no one else sees. I just think that would have been a cool thing. My show's not ready, but shit, I'm coming on. Were I Adele, I would totally do that, but I'm definitely not. The other thing, I guess, that pisses me off is any kind of blaming of COVID for anything if you're the sort of person that demands, in a state where there aren't vaccine mandates, you start vaccine mandating your own audience. I'd suggest you don't get to blame any kind of COVID shit for your failures. Because if you're deciding that you're a massive vaccine pusher, then clearly all of your crew must be vaccinated. And therefore, clearly, how could they possibly have caught COVID if they've all been vaccinated and the vaccine's so fantastic that you're forcing people to have it? So all of that is how I feel about Adele. And I think it's a bit weird when I see people go, don't worry, babe, it's all fine. I don't actually think it is. Are you drunk? No. People often say that, so that I get accused of being drunk just because I can do this, which is chat away to you guys like I don't have a care, because I don't. I get accused of having lip fillers because, look, they are big, but I think my lips have always been big. It's just that the rest of the world had big lips as well. So I'm accused of having those. And then people sometimes accuse me of having a boob job, which I'm always thrilled about because I haven't, and my boobs are tiny. But we all know, if you're on here often, that I just hoof them up. Hi. The vaccine doesn't stop you from getting COVID. Exactly. But the point is, the vaccine doesn't stop you getting COVID, but she doesn't really have a chance to bitch about COVID when she's the one forcing people against their own personal wishes to have a pissing vaccine to enter a stadium where she has failed to frigging well show up. Right. A more serious thing, I wanted to quickly talk about ONS, which sounds really dull and is. But they've just put out the statistics for total COVID deaths for the last 2 years. And these aren't people that died like with it or by sitting near it, or maybe they happened to test positive for it and they got counted as the number because they got more funding per head. These are actual COVID deaths. Well, and all death is sad, yada, yada, yada. But on an average year, 25,000 people die of the flu. That's just how it is. It just like wipes out. If you're not doing so special, if you're a bit old or a bit, flu might get you. And that's like the natural order of things. Well, normally it's about 25,000 deaths. Some years it's been like 40,000 and no one's batted a single eyelid because it was mostly old people that no one gave a shit about. This year, last 2 years, 17,000 deaths total from COVID. So the clear thing is that the government figures have always been bullshit, which we knew, that is now coming out as being bullshit. And then I suppose the more frustrating thing for anybody who's like me, which is having always called the bullshit all the way along, is that then even people, when you try and tell them this shit, still don't believe it. Because if they had to acknowledge it, they would have to acknowledge that they've been had, or they've been wrong, or that they were lied to, or that they've been taken for a fool. And obviously nobody wants to, well, apart from me, because I admit it all the time, but no one wants to admit they've been taken for a fool. So it's easier for them to call you a name, like a conspiracy theorist or an anti-vaxxer or whatever. And I guess that's true of my life as well, right? Is that I've always wanted the best for each other, wanted to call out stuff that I saw happening. And as a result, I had to be called names because to acknowledge what I was saying as true would be too hard or too difficult or too awkward. And so we call people names so that we don't have to listen to what they say. And that's how that anti-vaxxer thing works as well, right? Call them a name and you don't have to listen to anything they say anymore. So anyway, that's the ONS figures. I think it's really important, but I also acknowledge it's pointless trying to use those figures in any way to educate people, because people who don't want to know still don't want to know. Now, where are we? 16 minutes past. I'm determined that at 20 past we are going to do Q&A. Tomorrow I will be in Truro in Cornwall. And tomorrow is the 20, I want to say it's the 22nd. I'm going to say it's the 22nd. Is it the 22nd? Someone will help me. Would you come to South Africa? Of course. I was there with you all, and I spent 4 months living with white farmers in South Africa. And I told their story on a documentary called Plasmord, which is, as you will know, South African for the killing fields or killing in place, Plasmord, murder at home. And that was about the killing of white farmers on their land in South Africa. And because of that documentary and my time in country, and because the ANC were hunting me down while I was there, I was banned from South Africa, and I was going to be detained there. But because it was a Sunday, no one was around, and so I was let go. So I'm now banned from South Africa because of that documentary. It's pretty hard to find, as well, as you would imagine, but it's the truth of the white farmers. And South African will always be, and South Africa will always feel like another home for me. So that's South Africa. Truro, yes, World Freedom Rally. So tomorrow, if you can go to one of the rallies anywhere, please do think about going, even if you just stand on the sidelines. And the reason is, people say to me, protests don't work. All of these marches, what are you going to do? Wave a sign around? Pathetic. And I hear that, and I understand there's anger there. And I understand also a lot of people would just like it to kick off when we go to like full-scale warfare. But actually, these rallies are really important. And if you come along, you'll understand, because you can look around and you realise we're so many, and you realise we're a great side. And by side, I mean every different type of person. Lots of people bringing tiny children because it's important and it matters and it's fun. Everybody's super caring. Everybody's tidy and respectful and picking up their litter and all the rest of it. It's just nice. It's like a festival of freedom. I'd love it if there was music and entertainment and food and all sorts of things. It would be great. So that's actually more what they're like in my experience. And I just messaged a friend in California. She's flying to DC to join in the DC rally. And I know that from Australia to South Africa to America, all my different family all over the world, by family I mean us, good people, are all turning out tomorrow. So I'll be in Truro. Do come if you're there or can get there. Do come up, say hi. I'll be there all day, and I just basically cuddle my way around the crowds. And I know that we're also being joined by some brilliant nurses and doctors and others from NHS 100,000, and they are going to be laying their uniforms at the cathedral tomorrow. So really I'm going also in support of them for taking a stand and for not being coerced and blackmailed by the government. And you'll know that for the 100,000 inside the NHS, that pressure is really being cranked up now, because I believe it's the 1st of February many start the whole being fired process, because they're supposed to have had their first vaccine by then. I say vaccine, state injectable. So Cape Town rally, oh brilliant! Oh, I'd love. Wouldn't it be glorious to just be in all? Wouldn't it be glorious to have some sort of machine that allowed you to go from place to place to place? That would be glorious. And a lot of people are saying that they would looking forward to coming in May to Blackpool. And I honestly, I still can't believe that's happening. I can't wait. And my firm hope from there is that I can go on to do many more dates in many more theatres around the country. But we have to test the waters first, because everybody's entirely nervous. I think that I don't know what will happen, but I think it's going to be brilliant. And I know we're sold out, I think, on the Friday and Saturday night. But I don't know if there are still tickets. I should probably look. But I know there's a whole load of you coming, and I can't even begin to talk about May, because it'd just be too emotional. And I just find it all overwhelming. So that's that. Have I ever spoken to Perez since Big Brother? So do fire in your questions, any that I can read out in time, I will read. I've never spoken to Perez again. I sensed from him sadness just before he left. in a quiet moment. And I sensed that he probably felt he'd played it all wrong. I think subsequently he's been brash and obnoxious as per usual, but I think it must have been lonely for him in the house being an absolute arsehole all of that time, and it must have been rather tiring actually. But yeah, he was 100% a dickhead 99.8% of the time, and we would never have spoken again. I always know on these shows you don't go on there really to make friends. You just go on and do the show, and it's a job, and that's that. What's my opinion on the antiviral treatment being given? I've poor health, but I refuse to vaccinate my healthy children. So smart, this whole not allowing it to happen to your children. I know that the government will not release the figures. They have them of the number of children that died as a result of the vaccine, and they will not release those figures. So I think that's really important. I think we also have to just keep a sense of perspective. Like, if we invested as much time in trying to make ourselves healthy as we do in worrying or talking or bullshitting about COVID, we'd all be much better off. And then if you got COVID and died, or you got hit by a truck, you still invested your time and energy into really positive things. And I guess that's what all of my running around the countryside is about. How do I travel to the States? So each time I've used a different method. Each time I kind of say, you can't really ask how, because there's no way I can't tell you the flight to get on. I can't tell you the route. I can't tell you, because each time it involves a massive risk, and it involves possibly failing. And it usually involves sitting at an airport or an airport terminal for 2 days, or Mexico for 17 days, or talking nicely to this guy who then lets me see that guy who then let me through there. So there's no formulaic way of telling you how I get into the States. I determine that I'm going, I accept the risks, and I accept that I won't make it. And if I do, it's a surprise to me as well as you. But there's no way I can tell people my routes other than telling you, try a different route, try Mexico. But the way I do it are really, really protracted. So there's no just absolute answer for anybody. 2,000 deaths in the UK from the vaccine, no age groups given. Yes. But this is a frustrating thing, isn't it? We know these facts. We can repeat them till we're blue in the face, but it doesn't change the opinion of the other side. And that's something I know many, many people find frustrating, is that we are now firmly in two camps, aren't we? The side that believes, the side that doesn't, the side that's vaccinated, the side that isn't. And those sides aren't really changing sides. I'll be in Blackpool in May, and I will be literally, what are we even going to wear? I mean, 3 nights in Blackpool, or 3 dates in Blackpool, what are we going to wear? That might not be the most important thing. The most important thing might be, what the shit am I going to say? But we'll worry about that later. You can enter the USA if you're an immigrant, even if you're vaccinated. I know, it's such a shit. Am I joining Getter? The truth of this is that when I was kicked off Twitter, I was on Parler. I had a good relationship with the guys that set up Parler, and I was trying to encourage them to do events where I would also get to meet people, because I never understand who would just want an online platform. Surely we all want to be together. And they were always like, oh, we're a social media thing. We're not really about events, which is crazy to me. And then Parler had a massive bust up. The owners fell out. The donors fell out. They all ripped each other to shit. And so I moved to Gab. And the reason I'm not on Getter is because I feel like you can't just keep moving every time. The Gab audience and the guy behind Gab is a good man. And I'm here. And in many ways, I really, follower numbers are not the thing. And I wish everybody at Getter well. Equally, Getter were coming to the UK to do a gig, I think, at the O2, and they were going to require vaccination papers for people to attend. So I was like, maybe Getter's not my thing. But mostly I just want to stay in one place, because if you just keep moving, one of the things I'm sorry for is that our side doesn't have one platform and join together on it. And I wish our side would hold the line better. And people on our team are very good at attacking each other or doing each other down. And I see very little collegiate behaviour between any of the boys. And you'll know that, the boys that are out there on the front, they don't really speak up for anybody else. And that's a real pity, because it would be great if we stuck together. Any chance you can come to the Northwest? I very much hope to. In fact, I was due to come to Sunderland, So what I need to do after Blackpool is find theatres in places like Sunderland or the North West or anywhere for that matter that will have me. And it doesn't matter to me how small they are. It doesn't matter if it's 20. I'll come, because for me, all I want to do is be on the road with you guys. And Gab, I'm not on there. We'll have a look. Okay, I'm not trying to persuade people over to Gab, but that is where I am. Yes, so anywhere I can come to and join you guys on the road, that's what I'm going to do for the next couple of years in the UK. I'm going to continue to try to break into the US and do my stand-up there, and also rally the armies there, because America is our hope as well, and also just keep kind of trying to lift up our side for whatever comes next, because as we know, it's not going to end with COVID. We're going to see a handover very shortly to climate, and the same restrictions I think that we've just endured being imposed for climate instead. So they'll just switch the C word. I have another C word that I would use to describe Boris, but that's another thing. Can you speak a bit to Boris's speech yesterday? Honestly, you know, you just have to look at them all and just think, what a bunch of weasels. I just love 5 minutes in the Houses of Parliament. Wouldn't it be joyous? I'm so disconnected from any of those politicians. I can hardly spare them words, because they're so redundant to me now in my heart for what they've done to the nation. I can't, none of them. Maybe Charles Walker, and only Charles Walker, is someone I can probably bear to look at, but the rest, it's all for nothing, and we do need a completely different system, and possibly not to belong to the democracy we think we belong to. It's a fraud. Yes, so that's me, I think, for this week. What time is it? 28. And I will love you and leave you here at the Katie's Arms. I will say thank you. My thank yous are, thank you for joining me. Somebody just asking about the audiobook of Rude. I'm just seeing if this is my old mock-up copy before we had the real version. So Help is now out as an audiobook. So you can listen to me when you're walking around and laugh out loud, hopefully. What's been people's mostly their feedback. It's either made them laugh or cry or both. Also, brilliantly, Help is now out in Waterstones, because so many of you are averse to purchasing it on Amazon, which I completely understand, because Jeff Bezos looks like a right twat, doesn't he? It's the sort of guy you look at and you know he spends too much time naked on his own, looking at himself in the mirror. Like that whole, look at me, I've got a new physique. Yes, mate, but you're still 65 and probably have a very small penis. So it's available in Waterstones. And actually, even if you don't want the book, it might just be fun to go and order it from some, raging lefty in Waterstones, just to see their face shrivel up. But thank you to everybody for being so jolly on Instagram. Thanks for laughing along with me usually as I go about the place. And to everybody at any of the freedom rallies tomorrow, just go and have the best time. Just go and really enjoy it. Make sure you look around at all the people and know that wherever you are, there is a little line that loops to another town, another city, Austria, where they're just bringing vaccine mandates, Spain, DC, America, South Africa. Know that you're part of that massive spider web of brilliant people, and there are many of us, and you are not on your own, and you are never on your own. So do try and get there. And if I see you tomorrow in Truro, do come and give me a cuddle, and I look forward to seeing you there, and especially to our NHS 100,000. Please do support them wherever you find them, and people are wearing a little purple ribbon, I think, in support of our NHS staff who are refusing to be bullied into taking the state injectable. So, love to you all, and I will see you next week here at the Katie's Arms, online during the week on my Insta and YouTube, and I will see you in Truro tomorrow. So, cheers from me.